is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Did a double dip for you guys today. Did two videos. Kind of wanted to touch on a couple of things in this video. Saw an article that came out and I started to get pumped up that the New York Giants actually, in fact, will have players attending voluntary minicamp. The reason that this is headlines for me, I'm going to get into the quote. A month ago, the Giants came out and said due to the pandemic that they were going to sit out and that they were not going to partake in voluntary minicamp. Well, that is not the case. Now, not every player has gotten there yet. That doesn't mean that more may not come, but 40 New York Giants reportedly, and we're going to pull up the exact quotes, will be attending voluntary minicamp for the New York Giants. I think 17 of which will be rookies that were just in the rookie minicamp. So 23 veterans will be there. I'll get into just some of the specifics of which individual veterans, according to Art Stapleton, that have already showed up for the New York Giants. In addition to that, I also wanted to touch on Vegas. Vegas has come out and they've posted all the lines for the New York Giants throughout the 17 games this entire year. And of course, it's way too early if you're a gambler to bet on these games, but it shows you that Vegas, and these guys are paid odds makers, this is their profession, does not believe in the upgrades of this New York Giants football team, or they believe that the New York Giants record doesn't indicate the team that they had last year, and even though they may have improved, they don't necessarily think there's going to be a big, huge jump in the win total. The over-under for the Giants this year, according to Vegas, is 7 games, but when you look at the spreads, the Giants are only favored in 5 contests, and I'll pull up all the games and what the lines are and how Vegas feels about your football team. But as a Giants fan, listen, I just take it as motivation. If the team sees that, they should come out motivated. They should say, we get an extra game this year. We won 6 games last year, and they only have us favored in 5 going into next year. I mean, the Giants should have won all 6 divisional games last year, or at least you can make that argument. They had 2 touchdowns called back against the Cowboys, and Evan Ingram dropped the football. Yet Vegas only has them favored by 5. I welcome it. I'm happy that's the case because I think it should only add as motivation for this football team. And the person that's being disrespected the most is Daniel Jones, because that could be the only reason why they only have the Giants favored with 5 games. And it's the only reason why the New York Giants aren't higher in these power rankings, why people still have them winning 6 or 7 games this year. It's because of Daniel Jones and the lack of faith in him progressing as a quarterback. Because outside of that, where's your argument? I mean, the offensive line, sure, that's all well and good. But outside of that, we improved at the wide receiver position. The defense is going to be better. We improved dramatically at the wide receiver position. We got our best player back at Saquon Barkley. So the missing link here is Daniel Jones. And a lot of people obviously don't feel that Daniel Jones could take that step up. Well, I'm a guy that has not been super outspoken for Daniel Jones over his first 2 years. I've kind of been reluctant. I've kind of been in a wait-and-see mentality. And I'm not going to say that I know for sure that Daniel Jones is going to take that big step up. But what I am going to tell you is the reason why I think we're going to win 9 or 10 games this year is because I do believe that will be the case. Do I know that? No. The proof is in the pudding. We'll see it when he gets on the football field. But in my opinion, the person who's being disrespected the most is Daniel Jones. Had Vegas thought that the Giants had an average quarterback, they'd have him at no less than 8 wins. I truly believe that. We had a top 10 defense last year, and the weapons we've added are top-notch. So we'll see how the whole season plays out. We'll talk about the whole schedule, but I think Daniel Jones should come into the year with an extra chip on his shoulder, with something to prove. But let's jump into some of the quotes that came out about rookie minicamp. Voluntary minicamp, rather, after rookie minicamp for the New York Giants. This was a month ago. This from GiantsWire.com. A month ago, the New York Giants players released a statement through the NFL Players Association stating that they would, in unison, skip all voluntary portions of the offseason workout program. Another thing I'm going to touch on in this video as well is Logan Ryan and him going out of his way to organize a meetup with all the DBs and work out with them. You also heard about 2 or 3 weeks ago that Daniel Jones had a voluntary workout where he organized all the wide receivers, or as many as he could get. Kenny Golladay was there trying to develop chemistry in the offseason. So this team is really putting it together. So they came out with that statement a month ago in unison, saying that they weren't going to show up at voluntary minicamp. Well, that was not the case. This coming out from Ian Rappaport. The Giants had more than 40 today, per Mike Kliss. The Broncos had 75. Several teams around the league are in the window for OTAs. They also reported that the Jets had 80. But for a team that wasn't supposed to have any, they had more than 40. So it was said 40, it was more than 40. So we're talking maybe around 45 players showed up today for the New York Giants. And to me, that's very encouraging. That shows that these players, even though they came out and said due to the pandemic they weren't going to show up for voluntary minicamp, they're going out there, they're showing up, and they're ready to compete this year. And you got to love what you hear as a New York Giant fan. This also came out. This was from Joe Judge before today. We've already scheduled and released the OTA dates. Obviously, it's a voluntary period, so we're going to work with every player we can, whether it's virtual or in person. So obviously, whoever is here will coach in person. Whoever is virtual for the meetings will work with them virtually. Some guys will be doing both, Judge told reporters over the weekend. So there you have it. Probably a guy like Nate Solder, for example. I don't know if he's there or not. You know, he's got a sick child. He's probably going to partake in the virtual portion of it. Then this came out from Art Stapleton. By my count, 17 of the Giants' estimates today anticipated carryover of the rookies, returnees, and Kelvin Benjamin and Corey Clement. So 17 of the, around, we'll say 45 people that were there were the rookies and the guys they just signed. The rest are vets who were not at rookie minicamp. Then this came out from Art Stapleton as well. These were two players that he knows for sure were there. Offensive lineman Jonathan Harrison and Shane Lemieux posted videos arriving at the team facility this morning on Instagram. And that's good to hear. Jonathan Harrison, of course, trying to compete at least as a depth offensive lineman as a center/guard. Lemieux's a guy we hope takes a big step up in his second year. But it's good to hear that the New York Giants decided to show up for the voluntary minicamps, or at least a large portion of the football team. Then this came out about a day ago. Logan Ryan was organizing a meetup with the secondary for the New York Giants, a secondary that I think a lot of us believe going into this year could be among one of the best in football, and it's just great to see these players working out together. Logan Ryan continues to be worth his weight in gold. I mean, this guy's been an incredible leader for this football team. He was recruiting players this year. He's a stand-up guy. He's a leader in the locker room. I expect that Logan Ryan will be named a captain for the New York Giants this year. This was from Logan Ryan's Twitter. In the picture, you see Xavier McKinney and a number of the other members of the New York Giants secondary were in attendance. Had to call the DBs down to Tampa for the weekend. Hashtag the offseason. So there you have it. Logan Ryan is organizing a meetup for all the members of the DB to continue to stay in shape and get ready for the season. And like I said, Daniel Jones did the same thing a couple of weeks ago. This now, coming out from Vegas. These are the lines for your New York Giants headed into the year. And I alluded to this in my picks video. Week 1, the New York Giants are a 1-point underdog against the Denver Broncos. To me, that's disrespect. They're traveling across the country. They won 5 games last year. I don't see it. And hopefully the New York Giants take it that way. I think we're going to win week 1. +3 against Washington. We're 3-point dogs. I'm all well and good. I think we're pretty evenly matched. It's in Washington. It's a short week. I'm cool with that spread. -2.5 versus the Atlanta Falcons. I personally think we should probably be favored by a little bit more, especially factoring in when we're going to have more time to play for that game because we're playing Thursday. We're going to have 10, 11 days to prepare. We're at home. Atlanta's got a new coach. I'd probably set that at 5.5, 6, maybe 4.5. Either way, we're favored. So they think we're going to win that game. That's the first game we're favored. Second game, at New Orleans. I can't really I picked us to beat New Orleans, but that was kind of my upset pick. I'm not going to cry about this game. It's in New Orleans. They're tough to play there. 5.5-point dogs. I get that. 5.5 at Dallas. I think it's a little bit steep, but I would favor Dallas in that game, maybe by 3 or 3.5, but I won't complain there. 3.5 at the Rams. Again, won't complain. I could completely understand Vegas thinking that we will lose that football game. -3 versus the Panthers. I think that spread's about right. The +10 against Kansas City. Little steep, in my opinion. Maybe it should be like +7. Won't go crazy there. Raiders, I think we should be favored by more. I'd say more like +3, +3.5, but we're favored. So that's now the third matchup. They have us favored against Atlanta. They have us favored against the Raiders, and they have us favored against the Panthers. Then out of the bye, we're +10 against Tampa. That's a little too much for me coming out of the bye, but we should be dogs. -3 at the Eagles. I think it should be more like -6, -6.5, but we're favored. That's our fourth game. +3.5 against Miami. It's on the road. +6 against the Chargers. Double dip on the road. I get it. +1 home against the Cowboys. A little bit of disrespect there. A little bit of disrespect. I think the Giants at home should be favored against the Cowboys. That's just my personal opinion. But it's way too early to tell. then plus 1.5 at the Eagles. Getting 1.5 points. Can't wait to play the Eagles. I think we should be favored in that. It's in Philadelphia. I can understand a minus 1.5, a minus 2, a minus 2.5. I think the Giants should be favored in that game. But I get it. They're at home. Plus 2 at the Bears. I think that's more like a pick'em game. And, because you don't even know who's going to be the quarterback in that game right now. And then minus 1.5 against Washington. So the Giants are favored in 5 of their 17 games this year. So according to Vegas, right now, how they think it's going to play out, and again, this is way too early to be predicting these games because you don't know what these teams are going to look like at the time in the games. And I will say the majority of those games, when you really look at it, are pretty close. I mean, there's only 2 games in which they think the New York Giants are more than a touchdown underdog. And that is Kansas City, and that is at Tampa Bay. All the others are within a touchdown. But do I think some of the lines are off? Yeah. Do I think the Giants could use that as motivation? Sure. Why not? If you're Joe Judge and the New York Giants, you should be finding everything you possibly can to ramp up this football team. But as a Giants fan, I'm excited that this team is buying in. It seems like they're working hard, and I think they believe in where this team is headed this year. You're starting to see them really work hard in this offseason and come together as a football team. I can't wait for training camp. And it's going to be here before you know it. We're only like 2 months away. And then another month after that, we'll be having preseason football games. And the regular season is going to be here before you know it. And we're going to go into this year ultra excited, ready for this team to hopefully prove Vegas and a lot of other people wrong. Bet the over if the Vegas is setting it at 5. Now, I think it's at 7. I still think the Giants are going over that. I think we're going to prove a lot of people wrong this year, kind of like we did last year. Last year, a lot of people said 2 wins, 3 wins. Ended up winning 6. I expect the mark to be higher than what Vegas thinks. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.